Hey there, folks, and welcome back to the I Am CDB project. Of course, I'm your host, CDB. You are not. And today, we're going to use the Rockwell once again. Third day in the row, last shave on this blade. We'll roll on 6 using the Rockwell blade. But before I get started, just wanted to compare the size of this to some other razors. So here we have a Fat Boy versus the Rockwell. As you can see, much longer than the Fat Boy by quite a bit. Here it is versus the Slim, still considerably longer. Let's see, there's the Slim relative to the Fat Boy, just a little bit larger, but this razor dwarfs in terms of length both the Fat Boy and the Slim. So if you are averse to long handles, this might not be the razor for you. I just want to mention that because I got an email where someone mentioned that this looks like a pretty long razor. It is. It's got quite a long handle. Doesn't feel cumbersome to me, however, based on the few uses that I've had. Going to use the Perazzo Cream new tube of Perazzo Blue, which I like. And by the way, one of the things I do is I have this macaroot tub. When I finish one of these, I just keep it and I use it for things, because you have all the people constantly droning on about the plastic. I use and reuse these things for things. I put, nuts and bolts in them. I put change in them. And what I'm using this currently for right now, I put my cream in there and just sort of use it like a makeshift bowl, so I don't have to, dirty up my regular bowl, which is sitting over there. So I just, mix up the cream with my brush. I just reuse the stuff. Honestly, people who are responsible with things get tired of all the people babbling all the time about, you can't use plastic, blah, blah. Forget it. I'm not throwing this stuff away. I try to be responsible. I'm not throwing this stuff out. I have minimal use on plastic bottles, but sometimes it gets a little bit aggravating with the people constantly droning on. Like the other day I saw, Aquaman, Jason Momoa, or whatever his name is, calling out Chris Pratt because he had a photo on Instagram or something with a drinking bottle, which was single use, and I'm like, we really need to call people out, for that? I get it. We want to minimize use on that kind of stuff, but all the people droning on about the straws, and I'm like, come on, get a life. I mean, I try to be as responsible personally as I can, and I understand it's a worthy venture to or a worthy cause, I should say, to minimize pollution via plastics in the ocean. I love animals too, but browbeating everybody and constantly pointing the finger plastic is not the way to do it. It offends people. It is not the way to do it. I would suggest a different approach that isn't, pointing it out in public and trying to embarrass people just because they're, taking a drink of water out of a plastic bottle. I completely agree with the fact that, we can't let that stuff get in the ocean and so on and so forth. But I think, most of us, or at least decent people, are responsible. But, a lot of folks aren't. And so, we certainly need to reduce our use. But the pointing the finger and moaning all over social media constantly about it, particularly when you're calling people out and criticizing other people, is not the way to get people to, start reducing their consumption or use. Like with the straws and all that, it's really off-putting. And so while I agree with the message, it's off-putting. By the way, I just like this razor so far. It's doing a really good job. It's not menacingly aggressive, even on 6. Certainly is more so aggressive than the Fat Boy or the Slim. I will be doing a comparison video on that and the progress, in the coming days or weeks, just whenever I get time to do it. I don't really have time today, but I will get into that. So thanks for those of you who are watching still, and especially for those of you who email and say, this is the reason I watch your channel. You just kind of say whatever is on your mind and, you know, call it like you see it, and you're not putting your finger to the wind and sort of embracing whatever, you know, woke cause du jour. And you're right, I'm not. I mean, I just believe what I believe. And, you know, I would just like for people to, when you do have a cause, you don't have to really insult or go out of your way to insult people to get people on board. That's sort of my message to those who are very rabid in their pursuit of, you know, eliminating all these things. I'm with you right to the point where you start pointing fingers like Jason Momoa did. And I like him. I mean, I like his acting and so on and so forth. But I thought that was not very decent. But, you know, what are you going to do? That's Hollywood for you. Hopefully, most of us in the real world aren't behaving that way. But if it is something that you care about, you know, make sure you're being responsible. Make sure you're trying to, you know, reduce your use if you can, and or being responsible when you're disposing of those things, recycling, whatever. I know I always hear the thing about recycling doesn't do anything. Well, it's better than nothing. You know, it's better than putting it in a landfill or having it discarded. Certainly in a place where it somehow gets into the ocean or river or stream, because believe me, I like the rivers and streams and oceans as much as anybody, and probably more than most. But I also understand that, you know, there's a need for this kind of stuff in our lives. And plastic has certainly made our lives better in many ways. You look around, almost everything has, or a lot of the things we use have plastic in it. It's about being responsible. So that's sort of my message about that. You know, try not to put your finger in the faces of people, and maybe they'll get on board. But certainly by calling them out and embarrassing them, I don't think that's the way, personally. But then again, you might disagree and think it is the way, and so you can go on and do it. But people like me, I'll always be pushed the other way. I'll go and ask for straws on purpose, you know, just like I'm not going to be told what to do. Not by just folks on social media. So anyhow, back to the shade, because we really haven't talked much about, I'm going the wrong way. I'm doing another. See, I'm not even paying attention. I don't even know what pass I'm on. Actually, I'm on the third pass, so I should be going against the grain. Babbling, not paying attention, as usual. But anyway, I've had some good 3 solid shaves thus far out of this razor. Good audible or audio, whatever you want to call it, feedback, by the way, in case you can't hear that. Of course, my face is pretty clean now on that side, but if you like feedback, this one produces it. And the blade's still quite smooth. I don't use blades past 3 shaves. 3 is kind of the magic number or less. But this blade has been rather smooth in this razor, so it seems, for me at least, to be a good fit. May not be for you, obviously, but it's working well for me, so I have no complaints so far in the first 3 uses of this razor. I realize there are still people who are, you know, talking about how long it took to get it, and I've referenced that in the razor. It was pretty lengthy, you know, some 2-3 years, and so a lot of people were upset, and I understand, but it is a Kickstarter, and there's risk involved with that. But it seems like they have eventually delivered, for those of you who have gotten it at least. And hopefully that's most. And if you haven't gotten yours, I hope you will soon. I'm certainly not using it trying to glow. This was given to me, like I said, not by Rockwell, but by a friend. So hopefully you will get yours soon if you're still waiting for it, because I realize people have been waiting a long time. But In terms of the razor itself, it's provided for 3 very solid shaves. And the last 2 days I've used it on 6 and it feels really nice and smooth. So that's where we are with the Rockwell. Of course, we used the Perazzo Blue, which I think is a nice cream as well. Just all around good shave on a Sunday. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Thanks for putting up with the, not a lecture, but my thoughts on the people browbeating over plastic. Hope you'll come back again soon. Until next time, I've been your host, CDB. You're not. God bless.